I'm checking this out. Wow, you guys already started. I was going to ask, where's everyone from? So we got Liverpool, whoa, home of the Beatles, Argentina, London. Oh my God, here it comes. Israel, India, Jamaica, Philippines, Atlanta, Belgium, Sacramento, Brazil, New York, South Africa, Mexico. Holy moly, it is coming in here, guys. You guys are all over the world. Boston, Puerto Rico, Canada, Australia, Germany, Nottingham, Minneapolis. I lived there for a little while. I was working at the Mall of America. For those of you guys that live in Minneapolis, I saw a lot. Poland, Switzerland, Spain, France, Florida, Netherlands, Iran. Wow, just everywhere. South Africa, Santiago, Chile, Italy, Dubai, Ecuador. Fantastic. Japan, Korea. I'm looking at all these places and saying, where have I been? Like, I've been to a lot of these places, and it's so great. Tiny Denmark, Dominican Republic, Scotland. Woohoo! Wow, you guys are coming in from everywhere. This is truly an international event for sure. This is just so cool. Wow. So I know a lot of you guys that are on here already. I just wanted to make sure that you knew to have some paper ready or something to draw on. We're going to be drawing pretty quick because the idea of this whole session is just getting some more personality, some more movement, finding new expressions, pushing your poses. And in order to do so, you got to draw quickly. That's sort of my process that I wanted to share with you in regards to that. So if you have that, and I just say using paper as opposed to maybe a digital platform, only because sometimes you run out of room and then maybe you try to get a little bit too precious with the artwork, or you're just trying to, oh my God, I got to get a new layer, as opposed to if you just have like regular copy paper, just a plain sheet of paper like this that you can just start sketching, because that's what it's really all about, is just that quick sketching process, just to truly just loosen up and get the blood moving, because that's where I find that I struggled a lot with when I was starting. I call it like kind of like high school mentality, where you're just drawing, you try to make everything so perfect. Oh, I know, I got to move my microphone here. Sorry, guys. I had my microphone, I was playing my jazz, so it probably sounded horrible. Can you hear me better now? Oh, my word. I was saying all that stuff. So hopefully, you guys can hear me now, but grabbing that pencil and paper and just getting ready. But the thing that I struggled with the most was I would get so precious with everything I was doing. It just needed to be perfect. And I think with social media now, there's even more of that pressure happening with people, where they feel the need just to post something and share it. And I'm going to work on this drawing. I'm going to really beat it to death and try to make it perfect and finish it and color it and render it. And in this session is all about just getting you guys loosened up and just really ready to just start your day. It's almost a real workout. So if you do it for even just 10 minutes in the day, I think that's the most important thing. All right. So it is 11 o'clock. We are, oh my God. You know what sucks right now is when I first had Zoom, I realized you could only do 100 people. And now oh my God, I got to step this up to 500 people. So I paid extra for the 500 people. And I know I saw a lot of Zoom sessions were closed out, and I didn't realize it would get to 500 at already 11 o'clock. So everyone else has been locked out. That's a beautiful thing for you guys that made it. Congratulations, you're in. It is being recorded, and I am going to share it again, just even through my website. So with my Silver Drawing Academy, I'm going to be doing this every single month. So this is part of your membership. When you do this, we're all going to get together and just do these drawing sessions and just, again, warm up, loosen up, ask questions, talk. You guys are on mute right now. There's 500 people, so we won't be able to get a lot of chatter in here. So let's begin what we're going to be doing here. All right. So I'm going to reveal what we're actually going to be doing here. So the goal of what we're trying to accomplish here is going to be to just take this idea. I'm going to break down a bunch of theories on how to just loosen up. And the reason I'm using a pair is because it eliminates all the other stuff of just trying to, ooh, what does this character look like? Is it a tiger? Is it this? Is it a human? Is it this character? Is it that character? Where if you have no idea, you start to go crazy in your mind. You start to go, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I just don't know if it's working. So I like to start my drawings with a pair. And this might sound odd to you, but this is what it's all about. It's about squashing and stretching and trying to create just a different attitude. And the reason I've shown Batman there, some of you guys may have joined me in my last drawing jam that I did. We're going to be doing something different with the Batman. But the reason I use Batman is because it's very simple in nature, and what we're dealing with Batman, and I'm just going to bring up this point right now, just a few little things. We kind of got his cowl, that's up there. We're going to have his cloak, so this becomes another aspect. We're going to have his belt, and really that's all we're going to be playing with when we start drawing the pair. So you're just going to be working with this one, and then the cape, and then his actual belt. And this way we can just start adding a little bit of fun. But before we do that, let's just start explaining about the idea of just squashing and stretching and moving your characters around. One of the most important things, I just want to let you guys, because people will ask, the program I'm using, unfortunately, I'm writing it here, but I'm sorry to say this program no longer exists. It was called Made by Mischief. .com. Let me just write that, because they might still be, but I know they went out of business, and I loved it because it was just this unlimited canvas that you could just explore, like you're going to see me just moving around here. And the beautiful thing is you could zoom really far out, or you could zoom really far in. So it was just kind of really, really great. But so what we want to do, what I want you guys to do right now is just loosen up. This is about loosening up. So I want you to draw this pair. When we look at this pair, I want you just to think about this shape where it goes a little bit thinner. Up here, we got a small ball down there, and we got a larger ball down there, right? So we can always just manipulate this. We can have the large part up here and the smaller part through there, and just start to connect our overall shape in our design. So that's just a general kind of construction idea that I want you to play with. But also what I want you to think about is, how do we get a little bit more movement in characters? When you're drawing and designing characters, if you just do something like this, and I'm just sticking true to what I actually see here, this becomes just quite stiff and boring. Everything is just going straight up and down. But if wherever you can incorporate a curve, this is my bow and arrow theory, okay? Where you have a bow and you have an arrow. So wherever you can incorporate a bow and an arrow, we got that bow and we got this arrow, that's gonna start infusing more life and movement into your pose, no matter what you do. So I might take my pair and I might do something like this now, and I start to just bend it. What that's doing is starting to create action and movement with the human figure. Even if I were to draw an actual human figure through here, let me just reduce that down. If I'm gonna just draw a human figure, even just me getting a human figure to bend, I might do this. What I do is I break up my upper torso, which is the rib cage, and the lower torso, which is the pelvis. So if you start to incorporate those two elements and get a bend, automatically, now I can start to create just some movement and energy in my character. All of a sudden, this character just now has a little bit more feeling, a little bit more, there's a nice swooping line of action happening within the design, and that's what we just want to maintain as we're working on this. And you can do just multiple ways of doing it. And what I would encourage you to do after this session is think about, I want you to start looking at photographs and other people's artwork and go, gosh, look how they sort of, when I'm looking at that pose, I can see that bend in that body just by me getting that pinch right there, my arrow and my bow, I can start to infuse design. Even here, like this could be the back view of someone. So what if someone is just maybe like pulling something and maybe they're shooting or they're doing something like that. So me just even doing something like this Look what that's done to add just a little bit more energy and a little bit more movement to the pose, as opposed to just doing your character like this and going, oh, look, this guy's shooting at someone. It just becomes stiff. It just becomes extremely boring of a pose. So we want to try to avoid that. Okay, so let's get ready to do some squashing and stretching with our pair. What I want you guys to do right now, I just want you to move this pair around. This is where the loosening up. I just want you to find some movement. Maybe you might even stretch it really long and it goes into a shape like that. Maybe it's just that ball is going to get really small and it's going to squash like this. So now I've just taken this, imagine that hitting on the ground, because when something touches the ground, think about the gravity and the weight, like that's going to start making that feel just even just a little bit flatter through there. And now I got that nice feeling. What if that thing's, you know, shot up and launched off of the ground? Well, what I'm going to do is start stretching. So now I'm stretching these two circles and look what that's doing. Look at the feeling that can just start to bring to our character. And we're going to be using these. So maybe I'm crowding it a little bit, but just give your drawings just a little bit of more room. And this is a great way just to loosen up. Again, we're just trying to move it in all different directions, bend it, get that bow and arrow in there. Just see, maybe you're thinking about an emotion. Maybe this pear is now dropping down this way. It's falling from the sky and it's going down in that direction through there. So that's something that I kind of want to think about. I'm just going to reduce my size here a bit just because I want to get a bunch of them. What you want to do is you need to allow yourself to draw like this. This is a true warm-up phase. One of the things that I discuss in my Silver Drawing Academy is the importance of just drawing circles. If I can just move around my page, every time I go to a life drawing class, this is what I do. I draw circles, I draw ovals. And why do you do that? Because all of a sudden that little oval or that little circle can start to represent a nice head shape when you're working on someone. Maybe you're starting just to build up, you know, hands and the different forms and the tubes. That's why we just want to practice and try to make, if you can, you're going to do a lot of repetition, right? Some of the shapes you make are going to be similar. Some of them won't be, but just see how many different ways you can do this. Just, I might bend it so I'm moving my pear that direction. I'm going to bend it so my pear is going in the other direction through here. I might even make this top part of the pear just a lot smaller compared to this and start to just to build it through there. And you're going to see how we can incorporate so many different sorts of character emotions. And this pear method that I teach is not about, just keep in mind, I don't care if you're drawing a realistic character for gaming, you're doing it for animation, you're doing it for illustration. This is all the exact same stuff. I don't want you guys to get stuck up and on it and think like, oh, this is just for real super cartoony stuff. It's not. You're going to be able to do this with everything and anything that you do. All right, so now that I got a bunch of those different shapes, here's the next thing that I want to do. This is where we're going to start incorporating. Before we think about Batman, we're going to think about an action. We're going to think about movement and just let your mind wander. Let your mind just be free. Let it roam. But the first thing that we want to draw is, I'm just going to blow this up here. The first thing that we want to do in order to get the best sort of expression in your characters is draw your hands first before you draw the face or anything else. Because look what happens here. And what I'm going to do, let me just explain this. What we're going to be doing with our pear is we're going to really simplify this. The pear, it's going to be like a Mr. Potato Head. It's just going to have 2 stick arms. It's going to have circle for hands. He's going to have 2 stick legs and little circles for his legs, all right? Again, these are just circles you could make if you wanted to make his feet triangles, if you wanted to make his legs really long, if you wanted to make his legs really short. It doesn't matter. You can do anything with this. So here we go. So with the hands, why I want to say that it's most expressive, look what happens if I put my hand right here first and I put my hand right here, all right? All of a sudden, I am creating movement to my character. It is still unlimited. I don't know what this is going to be yet, but this is where you get to use your imagination. And what I'm thinking about here is, okay, maybe that hand's there and now it's connected here and this arm is connected right there. All of a sudden, I've turned my body in this emotion, creating something else that this character could be doing right now. Maybe he's holding onto a rope or something through there, okay? Now from here, I can just move my legs in any direction. Maybe this character might be sitting, you know, and they're starting to pull themselves up, right? All of a sudden, look what happens if I just move my feet over. Do the same thing with the feet. Maybe I could put my feet right there, and all of a sudden now I'm gonna make my brush a little bigger. Now I got my foot doing something like that, creating a different sort of emotion and energy. Now, the last thing I want to do, now I'm kind of telling the story. All of a sudden, the story is becoming clear on me in his mannerisms, in his body language, that maybe this guy is looking up and realizes that, you know, maybe he's got a stick, is pulling on a rope, or is doing something and realizing that he has to climb up there, or he's got to help someone down. Again, whatever that story is in your mind, that's what I want you to think about. Maybe this character might be frustrated. It's just as simple as a happy face, a sad face, anything else. Maybe this character is real enthusiastic about what is about to do, right? So it's almost like a peanut character too. And look what can happen with this idea. So the next thing that I want to do is, once I start to design this is where the Batman aspect comes in, where you can start to have fun. Now from here, we can imagine, let's get that little cowl on his face. Let's give him his little bat ears. Let's give him his belt that's wrapping around and drawing through my form. And what I just kind of want to tap on and drawing through your form is, this is extremely important. Whenever you're drawing any shape, I don't care, any animal, any person, any figure, I just want you to think about, just again, it's a very basic technique that's been discussed for just years, is instead of just making things feel flat through there, what I want to do is wrap things around. I'm drawing all the way through. Imagine that this is wrapping through and behind my egg shape, whatever it may be. It's wrapping through. So imagine this character has a belt. I'm drawing all the way through. I'm imagining that it's wrapping all the way through there. That's one of the most important things I learned in animation as a designer, is if you get in the habit of drawing through your shapes, drawing all the way around, you're going to get so good. That's where the practice is. That's the one thing I see people missing out on so much, is just practice drawing through your forms. Think how things wrap around. Even here, if I'm going to do my ears on this character, imagine that I'm drawing through my shape up here, and I can find where that other ear is just by drawing on the top there to find that other ear, as opposed to not doing that and drawing an ear here and having my other ear down there. And it doesn't feel like it's balanced, okay? So that's what we're gonna work on. Then you can start to add, if this guy's got a cape, you can start to add his cape on there, all right? But I'm gonna back up now. And just what we wanna do is start going over all the different little drawings that you've done here, all right? Just, and again, make sure when you're doing this that you're drawing your hand first. So here, I got my hand, I could have a hand here. I could just put a hand over here in front of the body. Try not to make it so even too. Don't put one hand here and one hand here. Try not to make things even with whatever you're doing. Just try to give it some feeling and movement. And all of a sudden now, again, I don't know what this character can necessarily represent. I do typically, when I'm designing characters, I have a verb in my mind. I'm like, oh, this character's gonna be, you know, pushing something, right? So here I got this character maybe pushing something on there. And then now, because I decided that character's pushing something, now from here, I can start to imagine what that pose might look like. And maybe he's struggling, you know, through there. And his eyes are, again, just almost stick figure. And also what I'm doing is making sure that I'm just not lining everything up in my design. I just don't want my face going in this direction, my logo and everything going in this direction, my belt going in that direction. I just want to try to avoid making everything just feel like it's just so straight up and down through there. It just becomes boring. So just a simple tilt in your head. Look what happens when I do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this guy and maybe give him a little bit of a hero pose. So I got my character through here, my hero pose. Look what happens if I if I just put my head straight. Okay, so now my guy's character is like, whoopee, you know, I'm just looking straight at you. Not so exciting, not so interesting. Look what happens if all of a sudden I turn my character's head in a different direction. Boom. Now you're twisting that head in the body. You're giving him just a lot more life. You're giving that character just a lot more energy. And that's what we want to try to avoid. We want to avoid just making everything just feel like it's going in the same direction with your character. All right. And that taps into another sort of theory is my approach on avoiding the ladder. And my approach on avoiding the ladder is just not making everything feel so even in your design. And that means, say you're drawing your pair character here. Okay, this is where we're going to really add some extra life and movement into our character. Instead of just having my cowl right there, and even just my ears. So all of a sudden, this is all feeling like the exact same size. Instead of having my logo right there, instead of having my belt right there, you know, maybe my legs are going down here and making everything so even. The drawing becomes dead. It just kills the drawing. We want to avoid that. So besides the bow and arrow theory, what we want to use is avoiding the ladder. So maybe I might have my top of my ears right here. Okay. And then from here, maybe I'm going to have the top of his head. And then I'm going to bring his cowl down to maybe there. Actually, let me just get my overall shape. I'm just going to block in my shape of my pair through here. So you can see now I'm starting just to change this. So now I got even my eyes I'm making different. I don't want them the same size. Don't make your eyes and your ears the exact same size, because what happens is everything just becomes extremely even in nature. And if we can play around with our versatility, our variety, our contrast, that's when it's going to work. So the next place is, here's my ladder breakdown. See how I'm varying it right there? The next thing I want to do is now I'm going to say, okay, maybe from there I'm going to put his logo maybe way up here. So now I'm breaking up that shape, and maybe his belt is going to be way down here on your design. And then maybe from there where his belt is to where the bottom of this is to where his legs are, I'm going to make his legs just a lot longer there. And see how now I'm sort of like breaking up all these shapes in my variety. This is going to make your character a lot more interesting than making everything so even through there. Okay, so let's put this into a little bit more practice. Let's take those elements that we've just done. So what did we just discuss here? I'm going to write them down. We discussed the bow and arrow. So I want you guys to make sure that you're incorporating that. I want to make sure that you avoid the ladder. Okay. And the next thing that I want you to do is we're going to just play, you know, so again, things just to keep in mind, just the contrast. Okay. We want to make sure we're playing with the tilts, tilt the head, tilt all these aspects of the body. So now we have the tilt going on through there. And the last thing I just want you to think about is my last thing, which is avoiding the bowling ball. All right. So what is avoiding the bowling ball? The bowling ball is just simply this. I don't want to have my character when he's, you know, he's got his ears and everything there. And I just don't want to have my eyes, and I just don't want to have, say this guy's got a nose on there. I just don't want to have everything just feel so even in the design. Even these ears, if I make them smaller and do a little circle, they all feel very similar. So the idea is maybe I'm going to have two big eyes on my Batman character, and I might have a small nose through there. And then my ears, I might even make a little bit bigger. Look how much more interesting that becomes. What if I take my character and I have two little eyes through there, and I have just this really big nose on this guy? Look what sort of happens with that. And I can make those really skinny and pointy. All of a sudden, we're starting just to add more contrast in life. And like I was saying, if you say you're working on an animal, say I'm doing something where I'm designing some sort of, you know, a tiger or some sort of element through there, and I'm doing something like this, you know, so then I have, you know, maybe my ears or something up through there. And then again, we can just start to build up the rest of this character. But what I'm doing, or a cat or whatever this is. And so what I'm doing through here is I'm just playing around with that overall variety. I'm avoiding the bowling ball. Look what happens if I do that same sort. I'm designing and developing a character, and I want to push it and then I make those eyes real small. Again, it doesn't matter what your style is. Don't worry. Don't ever think about style. I just want you to think about the idea of contrast and clarity and variation, and avoiding the, the ladder, and avoiding the bowling ball. Again, whatever it is, it's all the exact same stuff through here. Maybe those ears are coming out through there. Look how I've designed that character. You could be drawing anything. It doesn't matter. Just think about that whole theory, and that whole process is gonna get you there. All right. So now what I'm going to do, let's just go back to that so we can look at this again. So we got avoiding the bow and arrow. We got avoiding the ladder. We have contrast in our design. We're playing with the tilts, and now we're avoiding the bowling ball. And what I'd like you guys to do, because I would love to see what you guys are doing, if you guys can just hashtag silver drawing session. So silver drawing sessions, I'm going to write that down. Hashtag silver draw, because I would love to see what you guys end up doing. Drawing sessions. All right. So make sure you hashtag that so everyone can see what everyone did through this exercise, and sharing your story in Instagram, because I'd love to share those too with people. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back here and just start putting it all into a little bit of motion. So here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start with my pair. All right. I'm going to draw my hand. I'm going to think about maybe this guy is, is going to be flying forward. Let me see. I don't even want to do that. See, what I did was I didn't just want to put my hand straight there, unless he's maybe holding something where his hand would have to be there. But now what I'm going to do is maybe I'm going to put this hand through there, and now just start to connect this. All right. I'm actually thinking about maybe he's going to throw some sort of spear or arrow. What happened just there was my mind wandered. My mind just went like, what could that actually represent? And once you get your hands down, then you could do really anything with your legs. And that's why I say you draw the shape of your figure first, and then you draw your hands. Because now, what if all of a sudden with my legs, I could create a whole different pose? Maybe this guy is jumping, sort of in the air through there, and is doing a pose like that. Look at all these different expressions and ideas we can take. What if this guy is, is going this way, and his legs are sort of like flying that way. So now all of a sudden I've incorporated this whole line of action and movement in the pose. So there's a lot of different things that can happen when we're working on these leg poses. So with this one, I'm just going to go back to maybe he's just sort of like flying that way. See how that changed everything? Now what I want to do is I'm going to add my cowl in there. All right, I'm drawing through. I'm going to add this guy's belt. I'm thinking about my line of action now that this is all swooping in that direction. And now I've drawn that through, and now I can add this guy's belt. So I've played around with my shape variety, and now I have my belt through there. The next thing that I'm going to do here is I got to add where this guy's cowl is, where the collar is going to be. But look at this. I'm not going to make this even through there. I just don't want to, I want to avoid the ladder. So what I'm going to do is actually maybe bring this just up a lot higher. So I'm going to make that just a lot higher, and then we can get his cape sort of like flying through there. And now from here, I'm just going to add his mouth, and even shifting it to the side. And also I'm adding angles. I want to make sure that I'm playing around with my angles. I got my mouth dropping down that way. I got his cape going where it wraps around going up that way. And now from here, maybe I'm just going to give him just more of an angry expression, and I'm turning his face in that direction. And then from here, I'm purposely making his ears smaller so that it doesn't compete with his eyes. So that's something that I really want to think about through there. And then afterwards, here's the reality. After you've kind of done your stick figure pair or your character, if you wanted to start adding muscle and more of the tube shapes onto his leg and build upon his arm, all that information is there for you. Now you can just start creating, again, whatever sort of style of character that you want, and you're creating a multiple of poses. So if I ever have to design a character, when I have to design whatever that character may be, that's what I'm going to think about. I may just start with this. I like to just build my body shape first. As long as I know, say I have my model sheet and my head shape is this size, and let's say my body shape does this. Say this is my figure. This is my character. All right, I got my model sheet, right? So here's my model sheet of my character. Maybe the arms are thicker. Again, because uniforms and anything else can change your design. If someone's wearing gloves, if someone's wearing anything. So, oh, let's just do this. I'm going to make that even thicker down there. Let's just say that's my shape language. Now with my shape language, all I have to do is this. I'm going to be looking at this. I like to keep it in the top right corner, left corner of my drawing, of my canvas. And then from here, I'm just doing this. All I'm doing is building this body shape first. Putting these little things like this, and check out what happens with this. It's so, this is how I do it. I love doing it this way. You know why? It simplifies the whole process. It doesn't make me so like, oh my God, the character's not a model. They doesn't look like the character. So focus on your shapes. Make sure you're focusing on those shapes, because your volumes of your character are more important than anything when you're trying to make your character unify them. And that's making sure that, and when I'm talking about volumes, say this guy's forearm is that thick. I don't want to make my other forearm, I don't want to all of a sudden be drawing a forearm that looks like this, when really that shape is this form. And it's more of a triangular shape. So make sure you're paying attention to your volumes as you're working on it. So now I've done those 3 characters. Next thing I want to do is the head. I don't know that you guys can see me, but your head moves all around a drawing, you know, a figure. It's moving. I can have my head over here. I could put my head down over here. I could put my head over here. Look what I'm doing now. All of a sudden, I'm creating movement and life and energy into this pose. Now, the next thing that's going to happen is from here is where maybe I'm going to just start drawing that character's legs. Maybe I'm just going to bend them. Maybe this character's, you know, maybe this person's running in an interesting sort of way and their head's leaning forward through there. Maybe this character is falling backwards and they're leaning down. So now all of a sudden, their whole body is sort of twisted. Here we have that nice arc through there and that pinch. Maybe through here, this character is, let's see what can maybe sort of like happen with this character. Again, I'm going to sort of like draw those hands in there. I'm going to put those hands in there first because that can do something. And also look at the distance. I don't need to make my hand equal distance on both sides. It'll get cluttered. So now I'm doing something like this and getting my character. And also, I'm creating a really nice silhouette. So I'm keeping things extremely clear, you can read all these poses and there's no other information in there. And that's why we want to make sure that we're doing this. And I'm telling you, I can't wait for you guys to practice this on your own characters that you're working on. I know you guys are working on your own comic strips. I know you guys are working on your own comic books, your own animated characters, whatever they are. When you use this method, you're gonna see just how, wow, I could actually do it when I didn't think I could, or it's not as difficult as I thought it was. All right, but let's continue a little bit more with our Batman and everything posed through here. What I'm gonna try to do, because I would love to tap into some questions and I can't have everyone talk at once. So if I see someone raise their hand, not yet, so don't do it yet. If you raise your hand in the Zoom, then I'm going to call on you. And when I call on you, please ask your question. And then if you've tried and you get lost, just keep trying again. But I just want to draw some more poses here with our pear shape. So here I got that line of action doing this. Again, this hand, I'm going to maybe draw a hand through here. Again, what it's doing is just spawning a whole, I don't know what this can be. I don't know what this can do. With my pose, I might put a hand up there. All right, so maybe this guy's coming down. And from here, I can start to add fingers, right? So if I wanted to do something, now all of a sudden, just from there, I've all of a sudden created a whole new story. Now my character is going like, excuse me, can you tell me how to find my way to the bank? You know, so it becomes that idea of what it is, that all of a sudden created a story in my mind, which made me realize, okay, now I can sort of like do something where this guy is like looking off to the side and is just like, his mouth is open and is looking and is just like, excuse me, can you, I'm kind of like lost through there. Can you tell me which way I should go? Again, I'm going to make this guy our Batman character. Now I'm adding the details. So remember, details come last. In my Silver Way, if you guys are familiar with that, and what I've built my Silver Drawing Academy to be, is all my exercises from my Silver Way is now in video form. So I've created all these exercises based on that, but it's story, gesture. So we got to know what the story is, gesture, design. That could be where I'm coming in right now with my design of my ears and everything else. The next thing is the form. And that's all if I'm playing around with this. So here, I might come back afterwards and start thinking about my form. And those are tube shapes. How do those tube shapes connect into my design? How does that work? And then from here, maybe I'm going to drop this down. Drawing through my shape. I'm just drawing all the way through my shape. That cape is going all the way through. And then even here, this is a great way just to get things working. See what I did here? I drew that cape all the way at the bottom there like that, just one shape. And then I cut in my sharp bat, sort of look. And from here, I can come in and erase it. It's the same thing you do if maybe I'm working even on the lapel of, say, someone, maybe I'm drawing someone and they got they're wearing a jacket or something. This is how I do it. I'm going to draw through my shape. And this guy's got a jacket. Say that guy's got a jacket on. What I do is I draw a shape like this first. And then I draw a shape like that. And then I'm going to come in and I cut into that shape like this. So now it has a nice flow to my overall arc and shape in my design. So see that? So now I can erase that. And the same thing happens here. Say I'm drawing, I could be drawing anything here. I'm going to draw this. I don't know what it necessarily is yet, other than just an animal. So it depends what sort of ears I give him. But say I have this with my animal. What I'm going to do here is I'm drawing my construction. I'm drawing my center line through there. Say I have my nose. Say I'm going to have my nose through here. This is how I'm going to connect all this. I'm going to just do this. I'm going to have that mouth do that. And then I'm going to open it just like this and connect that nice shape in the design. And then from here, I can erase that line through there. All right. So that's how I'm going to just start. Again, all of a sudden, it just builds a nice follow through in your design. You could be doing a side view of someone. Maybe I have a side view of someone through here, and I connect this whole sort of shape. And then from there, I can do something like that. I've just connected that through there. And then now it just feels like there's a nice connection and a nice flow and a nice arc happening in our design. So that's what I'm just really trying to look for too. All right. So what I'd like to do now, because there's probably about 25 minutes left and I can answer different people's questions through here. I'm going to just pull this down. I got to see if how am I going to do this? If you raise your hand. So maybe if you have a question here, try raising your hand. I want to see if it pops up through here in the chat. If anyone has any sort of like questions. I'm just looking at my chat here. Yeah, it's recording, classic pear shapes. Let me see. Does anyone have any questions through that? I'm not, oh, there we go. Okay, so Beth Hart, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, I was just wondering, with all the stuff going on in the world today, if you have any advice on being successful while working from home.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I would say for this is just I want you to think about how maybe it was 6 months ago, a year from now, just whatever it is, just knowing that there's a lot more opportunities now more than ever. So working from home, you're going to, number one, this whole industry is changing. And I just want to share this with you guys real quick, because this is very important, especially working from home as an artist. There's a lot of you guys out there that think that maybe I can't get a job in the industry because I live in Brazil or I live in Israel or I live somewhere else. I'm not going to move to California. The reality is this whole industry has changed now. During this pandemic, what happened was all the studios realized that we can function by ourselves. We can function without having to have people in-house, that we can make this work. What it's done is open up the doors to more freelance opportunities. So more than ever, if there's any studio that you want to get into or contact, this is your opportunity to start just putting your stuff out there, making sure that you have a portfolio and your website needs to truly showcase what it is that you do. That's how you're going to sell yourself from home as an artist. Is here, this is what I do in my cave. I'm a character designer, I'm a background painter, I'm a prop designer, whatever it is. Build your portfolio around that and start just truly submitting to as many studios as possible. And think about that. Working from home is, you have to, number one, I don't know that you guys are going to be able to see this, but I have a calendar, and having a hand calendar as a freelance artist working from home for the last 13 years, keeping yourself organized and saying, today, I'm going to be working on building my portfolio. I'm working on just work, whatever that may be. I'm launching my website in 2 months from now. And these are some of the most important things, but I don't want you to get distracted and think everything that's going on in the world is an excuse as to why you can't be doing what it is you really need to do. I say, you just do it. And that's Nike's slogan. I didn't make that up, but that's the reality, is just do it. Believe in timing. And I'm just going to end with this, and I'll answer the next question. My 3 theories on all this. Rashida, I'll get to you next. I know other people did, but I just saw it just now, and there's other people I'll get to, I swear. But what I want you guys just to make sure that you're thinking about is, number one is the story / narrative. So what you want to work on, it's like design. What is your story? What is your narrative? What do you want your art journey to look like? Oh, I want to be a character designer in the animation industry. Good. Now, that's step number one. Step number 2 is you got to take action. What is that action? That action is going to be you researching who does this, who is a character designer in the industry, how did they get there, how can I contact them, how can I learn from them, who can I ask questions from, who can I study, how can I practice, what should my daily practicing be? So take action. And the third element is this, which is the hardest thing to digest, but it's timing. You have to believe in timing. You have to believe that nothing's going to happen straight away. But if you're persistent and you wake up every day and you're working towards this and you write down your goals on your bathroom mirror, because your bathroom mirror, you look at it every day when you brush your teeth in the morning and when you go to bed at night, and look at your goals and say, remind yourself what you're working towards. And that's kind of long answer to how I would say to work from home effectively. All right. So Rashida, I think you had your hand up from what I saw next. So go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Hi.
Hello.
So how do you convey an attitude through pose? Like maybe it's an evil character, or maybe someone who's very shy. So how do you use your poses, the way you pose them, to convey the way they are?
So what I'm doing when I'm creating poses like that is all about just line of action. So there's things that, if I love doing this in live workshops, which I can't unfortunately here, but if I were to say to all of you guys, I want you to imagine that there's this vicious barbarian coming towards you with a crazy rabid alligator. And you're just like, whoa, that sounds scary. What is your line of action going to be? Your line of action is going to be protecting yourself. You are going to move your body back. You're going to keep your hands close to your side. You're even going to probably just kind of turn your body away in fear. There could be so many different alternates to this, where I'm just sort of like turning my body away, or maybe I got my hand right up there. I could be doing something like this. That line of action could be going this way, where my hands are, again, sort of like up here, kind of protecting my face just a little bit. Maybe your body, maybe your leg is doing something like this and it's turning. Your whole body is sort of twisting through there. Again, I'm just making these sort of like really quick generic poses, but that's what you want to do. You have to stay loose. You have to get these crazy little sketches in there, these crazy little thumbnails to figure it out. If I were to tell you that, listen, you are extremely pissed off at someone, you are angry at someone, what you're going to do is your line of action is you're going to be moving towards someone, sort of like pointing at them maybe. You know, you're going to be just maybe in a little bit more threatening pose, you know, through there. You maybe you're yelling at this guy, you know, you're doing something through there. So now my line of action is going to be moving forward. Like, I told you so. Why did you do that? Otherwise, this person is coming at you, line of action, and maybe they have, you know, they're charging at you, you know, with a spear. Now that, you know, it's just a little bit more, you know, threatening through there. They're coming at you. So that line of action, if I want someone sad, my line of action is going to drop down just a little bit more. So what's going to happen is my just emotion, my shoulders, everything is going to just start kind of like dropping down through there. There's going to be a weight to my character that my line of action is moving down. Think about your shoulders. I heard one of my friends who's a great animator. He told me, I don't know who he heard it from, but I loved it. And he said, just like your eyebrows can be so expressive in design, all of a sudden my eyebrows are so expressive. That guy's happy. That guy, this person is angry. My eyebrows are going to go down like this with an angry expression. My eyebrows are just like I'm pondering something, or I'm a little curious, and I might have an expression that looks like that. You do the same thing with your shoulders. Look what happens if I start to just do that with my shoulders of a character, and I treat them like eyebrows and I connect them. So from there, I could have this. My shoulders are raised and this guy's just like, oh, I'm going to just kill every single one of you. I have my powers, and his shoulders are sort of like raised up through there. What if all of a sudden those shoulders are just drooping down like this, and that head is just dropped down? So now I've dropped those shoulders down in my design, and now this guy just feels a little bit more tired and exhausted. So think about your shoulders. How do you move your shoulders are like how you move your eyebrows, okay? All right, so let's go to, oh, I don't know who popped up there next. Just because it popped up there, I'm going to do Kaminico Art. Raise your hand. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask that, should I focus on one thing until I master it, or doing many things at once? Because I don't really get it.
So I'm sorry, I didn't really understand your question. Could you repeat that?
Yes. Should I focus on one thing at a time? Like, should I draw hands every day till I master it? Or focus on many things at once? That I want to master expressions, or I want to draw hands. I will do both together.
Well, if I'm understanding your question, you're asking about just the expression and the hands and everything together, and it really is. So what I'm hearing you say and what you do, again, is another theory and another method, just drawing it all together, is when you just sort of like...
She's asking if she should focus on one thing at a time, or if she should try to learn multiple things at the same time.
Oh, got it. So my philosophy, I would say to you, you want to try to learn one thing at a time. This is where the danger in school, what I've seen, okay? If you're going to a college, a school, and they have 3D design, 2D design, animation, there's too many things at one time where you can't retain it. But if you say to yourself, you know what, I want to learn about character expressions, I would say learn about character expressions and just focus on that. What does it mean? And that may be like, I need to practice eyes. My eyes aren't expressive. There was one of my students in my academy who was working on the eye assignment, and he realized, man, I never drew eyes just by themselves. I was always drawing everything together. And now that he's drawing eyes, he's realizing what he struggled with. And now I advise him, hey, just keep doing repetition. I want you to draw eyes for the rest of this week. Don't all of a sudden go into drawing hands or drawing something else. Give yourself the time to work on it. I swear this is one of the biggest things where people aren't getting to the level that they want to get to, is because they're just drawing, working on way too many things at the same time. If you want to be a storyboard artist or a character designer, you want to work on gesture. Okay, you want to work on just drawing your volumes. Why are you taking an oil painting class? That's the idea. Why are you studying oil painting when you want to be a storyboard artist or a character designer? That's going to be very important to really hone in on what it is you're trying to do. All right. All right. So the next question, you can go ahead if you raised your hand and just raise it again right now. And I'll just look here, see you. Okay. Oh man, there it goes. Okay. Oh shoot. I should write this down if it stays up there. Okay. Katrina, I think it was Katrina was the first one. I wanted to write it down so I have you guys in order.
Hi.
Hello.
So what I was wondering is that a problem that I tend to run into is that when I do things like sketches or figuring out these poses, they tend to like come out well. Like I loved everything that you were showing with the movement, but when I try to bring things to a finish and apply like basic rules of anatomy, everything always comes off as like really stiff. And I was wondering if you had any like advice for retaining the movement and energy even when you're trying to like produce a finished piece.
Yes, so there's a couple of things that I'm gonna do, and let me just show you. So what I'm gonna do, usually when I'm working on something new, let me see if this just copies over here. Let me just get my layer and just reduce that. Okay, I'm gonna do two things. Let me just do this here, drop it down, and then let me do this again with a new layer. So this is what I like to do, is I'm gonna create my character, and I want to have two versions of them. So the first version that I have is my, the one I'm going to do the tracing over, but I want to have my drawing in the corner, my initial loose, my initial rough that I really enjoyed. I thought I captured something there, because what you're doing when you do this, you're giving yourself the ability just to have a reference to look up to. I will always tell you never trace. You don't want to trace your design, but now I'm going to do a brand new layer on top of this. So this is where from here, the next step that I'm going to is now I'm going to just start building my overall volumes through there. I just want to make sure that that's sort of like feeling right. Now I'm going to maybe fix things just a little bit. I'm still working on my line of action through there. Again, I'm not tracing the line exactly, but it's getting there. I might need to just shift some things. And my eye is popping up to this one too. I'm just looking at certain things through there. I do want to point out, because as I'm doing this, where an idea of variation, say I do have my mouth and it looks like this through here. Again, you might change the whole sort of, pose all around. You might just have something that looks like that with the mouth. I don't all of a sudden want to make my necklace, whatever they have, the exact same size as that. That's where we're avoiding the bowling ball. So now notice I didn't trace the mouth. I didn't copy the mouth there. I'm just opening it and sort of like changing some things around. I'm even making the tongue a little bit smaller than the teeth, just to add a little bit more variety. So I just don't have my teeth like this and my mouth like that. Again, it just becomes very even. And so this is what I'm doing. I keep referring back to what I've drawn here. And that's how I'm able just to maintain this. But now I'm going to put in some volume. Maybe I might even start to put in some muscles and stuff where I didn't have that before. And now I'm adding extra little features through there. Maybe he's got his biceps and he's got his triceps and he's got his deltoid and he's got his biceps and triceps and he's got his arm. And now I'm just starting to figure things out. And now I'm coming in and starting to build upon that shape and volume and then I'll come in and work all these elements out afterwards. So then when I'm done with that, I'll eventually have the same sort of drawing. So that's how I go about it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Next, okay, I'm ready with my pen here. So guys, go ahead, raise your hand, and I'm gonna just jot it down. I'm gonna keep my eyes open. Okay, so we got Veronica. Okay, is next, and then was there anyone else up there? Otherwise, we could just go with Veronica. Okay, Veronica, Nahil, Francisco. Okay, so let's start with Veronica. Go ahead.
Yes, hello. I just like to ask if you have any tips regarding how to do perspective loosely and naturally, like without really thinking about it too hard. And
yes.
Just that in general.
Yes, absolutely. So when I'm drawing perspective, here's another easy little tip. It's called like the string in a ball. I like shapes and I like strings. I like balls. That's what I kind of like to draw here. So what I like to think about is this: the perspective. If you take a string and you take two balls through there and they're just hanging, now this is flat. There's no perspective with this character. Look what happens when I take my string and my ball, and all of a sudden I take this other string and my ball, and I simply just drop that down through there. All of a sudden, my character is starting to move into a perspective, into an area. What if I take my ball and say another string and my ball, and I do the same thing going in that direction? Now, all of a sudden, I got my character who's starting to be built in a nice front 3/4 view. Say that guy's standing in that direction. So I've just simply moved that. But again, look what happens if I'm just drawing that string and a ball, and I do something like this, and it's going in that direction, and I got my ball shape through there, and I got another ball through there. Now, again, that's made me realize that this character is moving in perspective in that direction. And that's how I'm just starting just to think about what's going on with that character. I can start to see that becomes my front 3/4 view, and all this stuff is moving all in that direction. Another very important thing is even with the face. Let me just write down Victor's name as another question. I know that we're just going till 11 o'clock, and I'll go beyond, if you guys, anyone wants to stay. I know there's a bunch of other stuff happening, but I'm here for you guys and be happy to help answer any questions. But with a face, say I'm drawing a face, what I'm thinking about is the perspective is whatever direction the eyes are going, let everything else just go into that direction. So if I have my eyes going in this direction, the next thing that I'm going to do is have my nose going in that direction. I'm going to have my mouth going in the direction, and I'm going to put my chin in that direction. So now all of a sudden I'm starting just to turn my face and head in this direction through there. Look what happens if I take this shape and I do this, and I have my eyes going this way, my nose that way, my mouth that way, my chin that way. Now, again, it's all going to a vanishing point way out there, but now I can just start to get my character a little bit more in perspective in that angle. All right, so that now I can just start to add whatever expression and attitude, but it's all moving in that direction because these features, your eyes and your nose and your ears, are really planted. Your mouth has a lot more flexibility. Your jaw has a lot more flexibility. My jaw could pop out this way. My jaw could pop back over this way. So there's a lot of different movement that can happen with that. But in general, I do always want to think about, I'm going to put down, I always like to find my perspective. So I do what I call a perspective oval. And I have this oval through there. And so once I have that oval from here, I know that maybe I might have a foot standing right there, and I might have a foot going back over here. So now I feel like that character's kind of planted. Now I add a little bit of my bow and arrow through here. I can have this character kind of like bending down and moving in that direction and doing something, right? So now I'm giving just a little bit more of that perspective and feeling, but that's pretty much it. If ever I'm designing a character, let's just say I'm designing this character through here. And I got that shape and I'm doing something like this. What I want to do is now I'm making sure that maybe this arm is definitely going to be longer than that arm, and that arm is going to be pulled back there. And that's what I'm thinking about. And my overlaps. Now I got my overlap is all of a sudden throwing the overlap of the arm is making this body turn just a little bit more this way. This leg, I might even just keep out just a little bit forward through there. That leg, I might even push back through there. And now, just like that, I've put my character into perspective. Okay. All right. Let's go with Nihil.
Hello.
Hello.
I was wondering, I really like these shapes and the emotions and the story that they convey, but I was wondering if there's a way to convey them into more realistic body shapes and more realistic style, because that's what I'm working with.
So there's a very important artist. I don't know if you're familiar with them, if you've heard of them, but yeah, I really want you to study this artist. And many of you guys have heard of him before. And his name is Andrew Loomis. And he is broken down how to draw the human figure immensely and just really great. And there's another guy by the name of George Bridgman. Okay. So those are two guys that I want you to make sure that you're following. So once we understand just the basics of a human, you can design anything. So humans are drawn, there's 16 parts to the human figure. So we got the head, we got the neck, we got the upper torso through here. Just keep in mind that on average, you can fit 3 heads across to the shoulders of a human if you're drawing more of a realistic character through there. The next thing that you're going to have is your pelvis shape through here. Okay. And wherever my from the top of like where my head is to where my pelvis is, I'm just drawing this down, is almost like even. You're 8 heads tall. So here I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So now we got the character, which is 8 heads tall. So just where your crotch is where you're going to start to break that up. But this is what I'm playing around with. I'm playing around with the rib cage shape. A rib cage shape can be like this. I can make someone's rib cage like a block like that. Okay. I can make someone's pelvis a lot smaller like this. I can make someone's rib cage just a lot more skinnier and take a shape like that. Make my head just a little bit smaller, make my neck bigger. Okay, I'm doing something like this. So this is what I'm just starting to break apart.
Riot Games? Wait, what? Riot Games?
Hey, sorry, whoever's got their thing. I'm not going to unmute you. If you can mute yourself out there, if you can hear me, please mute yourself. And then another thing just to think about is your elbows will always line up with the bottom of your rib cage. So where your rib cage is where your elbows line up, and your wrists line up where the bottom of your crotch is through there. So that's where I can just start to build up these shapes. But I can manipulate these. I can make this thicker. I can make that arm bigger. I can make it smaller. So those 16 parts that you're playing with are, number 1 is the head. Number 1. Number 2 is the neck. Number 3 is the chest. Number 4 is the pelvis. Number 5, number 6, number 7 is the shin. Number 8, number 9 is the foot. Number 10 is the other foot. Number 11, 12, 13 is the hand. 14, the other upper arm. 15 is the other lower part of the arm. And 16 is the hand. So what you're doing is manipulating all these 16 shapes within the design. So that's something that you really want to think about, but it's unlimited. But once you understand human proportion, you can absolutely manipulate these characters into anything. Like even here, I might just do this. Again, I'm going to start with my shape. I'm doing this. And I'm going to take my, again, I'm just sort of like drawing really quick. I can do the same thing with my hand. Maybe I'm going to put a hand here. I'm going to put a hand here. All right. So now from here, I can start to build up all these different shapes. Now I'm getting a little bit of my foreshortening through there where that arm's just going to get a little bit more foreshortened. I'm turning this body in that direction. Again, I'm using all the same tricks. Even my head, I'm going to turn my head at a different angle through there, and I can start to, block this. And again, no matter what the sort of style, no matter what sort of like character you're just trying to build, whatever they are, it doesn't matter. Maybe my shoulders are going to be just a lot bigger through there. And then you go through that process and build up your character. All right. Okay. Let's go to the next person. Oh, it's 12 right now. Again, I just want to let you guys know that part of your membership for just $99 gives you a year membership. You get full access to everything. My art talks, over 300 videos. We're going to be doing this once a month live. So everyone gets to do this live. We're going to ask questions. We're going to be drawing. So it's all inclusive, and you get it for just $99 with the Lightbox special. And that ends on Sunday. So just to let you guys know, they're at my silverdrawingacademy.com. And let me see, Francisco, if you're still there. You there? Nope. Okay. How about Victor?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Nice. So hello. So this is my problem. I'm 32 years old, and I'm trying to get a job in a video game and animation. It's been almost 7 years. I'm looking for a job in them because I've studied this, and I can get that I wasn't very good at the beginning because I was fresh out school, and I didn't at the level to work in the industry, but now I feel quite confident in my skills, but I still can't find work, even if I'm applying again and again and again. So I'm sincerely asking you a question: how can I get a job?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, here's the reality. Knowing that it is a competitive field, but it's bigger than it's ever been before is, for me, I would almost like personally need to see your portfolio and see your work. And I'm trying to think of like the best way for me to see your portfolio. I think maybe if you go and direct message me through my Instagram, that's Steven Silva 7. This goes to any of you guys. I listen, I love teaching. This is my purpose, and I would love to see, but if you direct message me and you say, hey, could you just take a look at my portfolio? I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, why I'm not getting a job, because then I'll be able to give you a true answer onto why that is. And once I can see your work, then I understand, hey, because I meet with people all the time and I look at their portfolio and I go, hey, you want to work in the game industry, but what, you're not representing that, you're not showing me enough. I find like a lot of people show way more. This is what happens. Have you ever gone to a restaurant, or can you imagine going to a restaurant and they mix the desserts with the chicken, with the salads, and they don't break it up into sections? I see a lot of portfolios that are all over the place and there's no real focus and real direction. So if you have a true focus and a real direction, and I'm sure you do, but I almost need to see that. So I wish I could sort of answer that question in honesty for you right now, other than just a generic answer, but that's what I would need to see, because that's usually the problem, is that you're not showcasing what these studios really need to see. And I've seen it, and I say this for the character designers in animation, I've seen way too many portfolios that are built on character design of just all their ideas, but there's no production work. There's no exploration like I just showed you guys today. There's no production sort of artwork. They're missing the turnarounds. They're missing the facial expressions. They're trying to color everything, which is, you don't want to do that. You don't need a character designer's portfolio doesn't need to be rendered. This is a big misconception. It needs to show ideas. It needs to show movement. It needs to show character and life. For the gaming world, it taps into a different area. You want to show those coloring skills and concept art skills, but people aren't showing enough variety. So now they're trying to get a job at, say, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, yet they don't have anything in their portfolio that represents what's even on the Dungeons and Dragons website. So you absolutely have to make sure that know who your target is. Look at all those artists, and you got to ask yourself, am I in their league? Can I do this? And maybe you go, I'm not. But I know that with 2 more months of hard practice, 5 more months of practice, timing will get you there. All right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you bet. Jennifer. If you're there, Jennifer.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
I was asking a previous question on how, I forgot my question, darn it. But wait, it's coming back. All right. How can we balance our characters while pushing poses? And what are great strategies and tips on how to train our eye to see if our character is off balance? And also practicing with the concept of unbalanced, making our characters look unbalanced, like testing out those designs for animation and for, smearing effects, etc.
Got it. Okay, so just in regards to, I'll just address your balance question right now, is trying to find that balance. So here's one way that I find my balance in my design is the thing that I'm always sort of looking for is the little pit in the stomach, which is the area between the rib cage and the pelvis right here. And this little area where your spine bends, I like to call the sponge zone. So we got a head there. So this little area, because this is bone and this is bone. And through here, we got our love handles and everything else, we got on us. All right. So that's where the core of the balance is within the design. So and this is another exercise you guys can do. It works every single time. If you take a photograph, you could like go on top of a photograph. Let's just say there's a photograph of someone and they're doing something like this. You know, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I got some person like doing this, right? So what's happening through there, this little sponge zone right there, this is an area where we want to start finding that balance. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a straight line straight down through there. And then I'm going to try to find equal distribution on both sides. So this is a halfway mark right there. And then I know to find balance, because even though I have this character right there, I can make this character just as equally balanced by doing my other halfway line there, that this guy's leg could even come out through there and it's still going to be balanced. I can throw this hand way out there and it's going to be balanced. So I'm always just trying to find that median. So when I'm drawing my character, just to find balance, a lot of people, when they're drawing characters, I see this a lot. It does this. They got their character and they're like standing like this. Clearly, you know, if I were just to draw a line straight down the middle through there, look how much weight and everything is on this side compared to that side. You know, so this is no longer half and half, but all of a sudden, if I do this, I have that line just through there, and then I make this even on that side through there. I know that through here, I can start to do something like this. And then, in all honesty, with this character, I can put my foot way out there. And then with this guy, now he's a little bit off balance, but he could still sort of like stand. Now it's just kind of leaning. And I got that foot happening through there. Now, all of a sudden, my character feels like they're not going to absolutely fall over. So that's one of the major things that I'm looking for. And go ahead. What was the next part of your question?
Oh, unbalanced, making awkward poses just to be funny.
Yeah. Well, in that case,
to different wheels, like those practices, like, you know, I try to do some silly lines of actions like a heart or something and try to fit that character in there.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the idea, is really when you're doing things off balance, is this is where you just, you know, again, it's almost like that sort of like pear shape where I might have someone just, you know, throwing up just like this, where they're up in the air. What happens when you throw someone off balance, that's usually a case that they are just doing something with a little action. There's a little bit more action, you know, sort of like happening, you know, with a pose through there. So even just through here, I can throw a leg back there. Now this guy is no longer balanced. He's going forward. He's moving in a different direction. And I would just say, if your character is unbalanced, but they're in an action, people will never necessarily look at it and go, it feels unbalanced. They're only going to see that it's unbalanced when all of a sudden you're not sort of maintaining that sort of direct balance of your character, if that makes sense to you. So it's really just about making sure that you have your ground plane, you know, you have your character, you have your line of action, you think about what this character's doing, how they're sort of, you know, going to be standing through there, and is there that balance through there. Maybe that's a boxer. That's another thing that I would do, is even look at boxers, because you get to look at people, you know, they're like throwing their punch there. And we got that character where he's got his boxing gloves there. He's still maybe just a little bit off balance. He's sort of like leaning, going forward. He's clearly moving forward, but that's the intention. It's gonna be off balance. But I really read, oh, this character's moving forward. They're about to throw a punch. I know this guy's not balanced, but if I wanted to balance this guy, what I would do is I would go to my core, go to my sponge zone, and then from there, what I'm going to do is maybe just even equal. If my arm can go that far out there, halfway over, I know that I can move that character's leg way out there. And now I'm starting to bounce him a bit more. And I'm going to throw this foot on the opposite side. And now my character's feeling just a lot more balanced within that pose, as opposed to it really feeling off balance because it crossed over the line. All right. And so I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. It seems, I'm sorry. I'm studying like your pose real quick, because like it does give like an amateur feel to it. Like who's like in boxing, they usually have both their feet on the ground to have a stable stance. Yeah. But this one's kind of like, it gives that fun, like good punch where it's like he put his whole weight into it. So
Yes.
like it's fun to look at. And I'm also seeing like how it's designed to be balanced. And I'm thinking like, is this more for a flat dimensional character like that stylized that we should push these balances? And also like when we spectrum into a more realistic style, do those same principles apply?
Yeah, the same principles are going to apply. And the person I would tell you who really drew balance great in a realistic style, I want you to look at Frank Frazetta, ETTA. So I think there might even be 2 Z's in there. So Frank Frazetta, he drew all the barbarians, the Dungeons and Dragons, just all that really cool stuff. And I want you to look at how he drew that, because when you draw from him, which I did when I was a lot younger, did so many drawings from Frank Frazetta, that's where you're just finding the same thing. Because again, it doesn't really matter. I could have this just character, maybe just a little bit more realistic through here and just sort of like throwing them off balance. Maybe this guy's holding this big sort of axe, you know, through there and is doing something like this. Again, it's still going to apply. I mean, I still got my center line through there. I still want to make sure, okay, I can pull my foot way out there and I can pull this way out there. You're going to find it's the exact same sort of theory and the exact same. And that's why I want you to draw and trace on top of photographs, or even just draw and trace on top of Frank Frazetta, because that's where you're going to find the ability to do that and get that action and emotion with balance and without balance on your characters. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You bet. All right. Diego.
Hi.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask real quick that as someone that is a freshman in an art college, and I want to go into animation, I want to start building a social media profile in which I can display my art, but I'm a complete beginner.
Mm-hmm.
When is it that I should feel skilled enough to be able to open up my own page to the public and start releasing stuff in there for people to start viewing?
All right, I have a couple theories on that. Is number one, it can be too soon. And because people have done this with book publishing, they go and they publish their own book to sell at a convention, but maybe they're just not ready yet, or they're like what you're saying, going on social media and you're trying to build a following, but you don't have enough of a voice yet or something to say. One thing I would say is building up a variety, just start to build up a library of designs. Okay, don't be in a rush, because again, if your stuff's not at the level you want it to be, why is it going to inspire someone to go there? Why does someone want to look at, what are they, people, and you got to think about this, when you're looking at someone else's social media, their Instagram, anything else, it's always because you start following them. It's because you feel like they're doing something that kind of you connect with. Maybe they're drawing animals. Maybe they're drawing people. Maybe they're doing portraits. Maybe there's something that you go, wow, I really like what that guy's stuff. It's entertaining and engaging. So number one, don't be in a rush, because it could be detrimental. The other thing that I would say is just start now. I love Lao Tzu, ancient Chinese, ancient proverb is a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. So the reality is you start now. Don't wait till you've done 1,000 drawings and all that before you're starting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, don't put things off because you don't feel you're ready yet, because you're not there. Just start to work on your own stuff, start to build it up. And again, it's never too late. And in all honesty, I can say if you created your Facebook or Instagram presence now and you're not getting the followers, what does it matter? Does it really matter in the scheme of things? Because you know that you're dedicating yourself. You know that you're working towards something greater. And that's the most important thing. And if that's the thing that you need to give you that little kick of encouragement to just keep going, that's what's going to be required. Because at the end of the day, all we want is to make a life and a living as an artist. That's your goal. That's why you're going to school. That's why you're studying. That's why you're practicing. That's why you guys are at Lightbox Expo, because you go, I want to work in the industry in some facet. I want to make a career out of this. I just don't want to work at my regular job. And these are the reasons. And so you know that I'm going to dedicate myself and that's why with my Silver Drawing Academy, I created just short form videos because I want everyone just to keep repetition. So whatever you're studying, just keep going through that process, but just start. I would just say, just now, just go. Just go, but don't worry that if you're not getting the followers just yet, okay?
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. All right, I wasn't keeping track of other one. If anyone else had their hands raised up, again, I don't want to keep you guys here. If you feel you want to enjoy some other things on the Lightbox Expo, but maybe I'll take maybe just 3 more questions, and then you guys can explore, and I'll set you guys free. So if you raise your hand, I'll take the next three people.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
My question is, you kind of touched on a little bit of perspective. Can you kind of go back and do like bird's eye view and worm's eye view? I have a hard time like turning, the angle of the camera in that sense.
Right.
And then if you could also talk a little bit about how to add gravity to your characters, like not necessarily like balance, like the last question was, but just like a sense of gravity, like they have weight to them.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So we're just dealing with the perspective, and then we're dealing with gravity. Okay, good questions. So the most important thing that you just have to understand when you're just drawing just anything is you just got to be practiced. And that's why I would almost encourage you just to practice drawing just boxes and shapes. What I'm doing here is I'm just starting just to think about maybe just an angle of a box. Again, I'm drawing this so like really, really quick through here. And I'm just drawing these 2 little squares, and I'm just building things up like this. And I'm moving this box around. And I'm drawing the exact same shape, one on top of another, through there. So this is where I'm sort of like practicing drawing my overall boxes. And again, this way you're just drawing on your computer, very loose. You're playing around with all different things like that. So with the bird's eye view and the worm's eye view, if I'm drawing a character, all I'm thinking about if I'm drawing a worm's eye view, I just got to just kind of think about what direction that this box is sort of like really moving in. I know that it's going up through this way, and now I can just start to build my forms upon this way. So here I'm just building up these basic shapes from here, and I'm just starting, and I'm playing around with tubes, and I have all my tube shapes that are being created. So that's why you want to practice drawing tubes. And this is a practice. This is a practice. All I'm doing, I could practice for 10 minutes just drawing tubes in all these different directions. And that's what's going to overall just kind of help you with your design. I'm still keeping things in mind from what I understand. I know that my wrist ends at where my crotch is. So if my crotch is right there, I know my hands are going to go there. I know my elbow is going to end at where my rib cage is. So I'm going to place my elbow right there. And then from here, I can start to force that perspective through there. Now it's been created for me. All of a sudden, I don't have my upper arm that's like that and my lower arm becomes short like that, right? I'm changing the perspective. Look what happens just when I do that. And I just want to make a point right here. Imagine someone sitting. If I do something like this, and I got a tube, and I do something like this, and I just keep that even, it almost feels like someone's standing. There's not really a feeling to that. But look what happens when I do this, and I shorten that tube, and that becomes the upper thigh, and then I make this longer, and I do something like that. Now it feels like that person is sitting, that leg's bent, and then from here I can add my pants and everything else on my character, and I start to create all that in my pose. Look what happens if I do this. If I take this leg and I do this, and it's coming this way, and then I make this part just a lot smaller, and I overlap that. Now look what's happening. Now it feels like this person is bending, and they're sort of like standing there. They got a little bit more of a bend to their leg through there, and there's a little bit more of a crouch. It just starts to become a little bit more apparent. So that would be the way that I'm designing that. If I'm drawing, again, it's almost like the opposite. If I'm drawing almost like that bird's eye view, well, then it's just got to go into that, imagine that box shape through there which is coming down and everything's moving in that direction, I'm doing the same thing. So here I might have my upper body, then underneath here, there's going to be a little bit more overlap. And these tubes are going to start moving in this direction, you know, through here. Again, depending on what your character is doing. Maybe I got my character sort of like leaning on something, you know, through here. Maybe this guy's legs are doing this. I'm going to turn that leg in that direction. And it's doing something. It's got his hand sort of out through there and is making a gesture towards someone. All right. And then my head's going to be on top. I'm turning my head. I'm going with my same philosophy of don't make everything so even. Or they're going the same direction. And now I can just start to build upon that. So where the secret lies is making sure that you are really just drawing extremely loose and extremely free. And do not start to just do your drawing like a fax machine where you're just doing something, you know, like this, where you're just sort of like drawing just down like this and trying to make everything so perfect. Again, the more skilled you get, the more easier this might, you know, become through here. And things are going to appear maybe even a little bit larger. Depends how, you know, much you're sort of like really pushing that, you know, perspective. Maybe that guy's nose is up that way and his ears are going to drop down. So when a head tilts up, your ears drop down through there. All right. And you start to build things that way. All right. So that sort of like covers the perspective bit. I know it's loose and crude and fast, but with the gravity, the things that I'm always thinking about in gravity is I just want to pull things in a direction that they're going. So something that I may say is if I'm drawing someone and I would just want to pull a shape down, I might do something like this. Again, I might start with my shape. I'm starting just to build this up. I might start with my hands first, get my hands through there and say that guy's hands are just, you know, through here doing whatever is kind of like doing through there. From here, I'm going to build the tubes underneath. So it's always build up those tubes, get those tube shapes going. Don't neglect that. Figure out what's kind of like going on underneath there. And then even through here, the construction, I built that. I have my leg going through here. I'm going to have my leg going through there. Now gravity is telling me that things are going to pull down. So this, I might have that to maybe his clothes. And now, because that's pulling down, I start just letting everything drop in that, pulling everything down. Maybe he's got a sleeve, you know, through here. And that gravity is going to, let me just do this. I'm going to open this up. Let's just say we got a guy's hand just doing this. All right. And maybe he's got a big old baggy shirt or something on. That gravity, instead of having it just go off to the side and do something like this, the sleeve, I'm just going to pull that down. I just want to let it hang. So, and then from there, now I can just get that sort of gravity feeling and we just start pulling things down to even with these pants. And observation. When you're going out and you're looking at people, just this is where you draw in your sketchbook. We start to see the bags of the clothing start to hang down there and just drop. And where is this again? Everything's going and falling down in that direction. The shirt might be hanging loosely and things are going to start being pulled down from here. As long as I'm following that direction, that's where the gravity is going to come into play. It could happen with hair. Say I have someone's drawing someone's head here, and I'm going to draw that hair shape through there. You know, maybe that hair is, you know, going down in this direction and there's a nice flow. I'm even thinking about, even if I'm going to add lines on top of there, I'm thinking about that flow is all going to go in sort of like the same direction. I don't all of a sudden want to say I got that, all of a sudden doing that, and that's just kind of shooting up that way. Otherwise that hair just drops over there. It starts to get clunky. And this is why we just got to follow the forms of something. It's like, what direction is something going in? Just try to follow the direction of those forms with a character. I might have someone running. Let's just say I got a running pose through here with someone. So gravity, maybe again, I just want to get the energy first. So find your energy first, get your feeling first. So here I'm drawing all this. I got all that fun stuff going on. So here, even just, I think about, okay, that guy's running this way. So the wind is going to pull things back this way. So now gravity is just going to pull that and make it flow in that direction. Maybe the gravity, what's it doing? It's resting against the shin now. And now that those pants are going to be pulled back that way as we have that, and that's where the gravity and this is just going to be falling down, and that back of that shirt is flying in that direction through there, and these pants are just getting wrinkled, and again everything is dropping following the direction of the form, and that's what you really want to keep in mind. All right.
Thank you so much. This
All
was
right,
a great session.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'll take one more question and then just end it with my final thoughts on life, because I always like to end it on I'm going to end it actually with my poem that I wrote. So stay tuned for my poem, but I'll take one more question.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. So I have a question about like art school. So
Yes.
I currently live in Africa, I live in Nigeria.
Okay.
So when it comes to like art school and in like Canada or America, to go into like animation, it's usually very, the international fees are really expensive. So the school I wanted to go to, the fees are about like 30,000 Canadian dollars. And I actually saved up that money over the past 4 years. I was working like as a cleaner, as a bartender. I worked at McDonald's. I worked at basically every job I could to save this money.
Good for
but
you.
Now that it's time to like, pay for the money, I'm starting to think, is art school like a great necessity? Like I could use that money to do something else to help my family and like stuff like that. And what to do? Do you think I would benefit as much from going to art school as opposed to maybe learning online and saving my money?
Yeah, so here's my honest truth on that. And my honest truth would be that with the event, because of social media now, because of all these different online opportunities, I got a drawing academy, there's schoolism, there's this workshop, there's so many things going on there. It's going to benefit you. I see more people getting hired from taking from online courses than they are with a degree from a school, because they become more focused. All of a sudden you say, hey, because a lot of these studios, they're not just looking for generalists. They're not looking for just someone who can do everything. They're looking for real specific, especially you want to work at Netflix, you want to work at Disney, Nickelodeon, all the major studios, they're hiring people to do specific things. So if you say to yourself, I want to put it to you this way, say you wanted to, I want to go to the Olympics. I want to be in the Olympics and I want to be on the Olympic ski team. Is it going to benefit you to start studying, just practicing track and field, archery, the shooting, and doing all these other things that aren't going to help you become the best skier you can be? And that's what you're trying to look for. And that's where art school can be. There's too many options. And now you're trying to, and then you don't even have enough time to work on everything because you keep moving on to the next assignment and you're doing everything. My opinion is you could save a lot of money doing it. And especially if you've been saving this much, and I know a lot of people who have spent $30,000 in the hole, $60,000 in the hole, and still don't have a job, because they were all over the place. And that's why I would say to you, you take advantage of things like even what I'm offering, what other people are offering, because the training is there and you can do it at a fraction of the cost. You just have to be disciplined. One of the great benefits to an art school is when it's live, when you actually show up, because then there's community and you get to meet other artists and you get to make new friends and you get to do all this. But again, with the way things are going, and especially because of what the pandemic caused, more and more people are going to go online. You're going to start to see more art schools, physical art schools, physically closed. They're going to shut down. It's not going to be the way of the future. And that's my honest suggestion to you would be, fine, just learn the fundamentals, have that desire. What do you want to work on? What do you want to draw? And you have to discover that, whether you want to be a character designer, an illustrator, a book illustrator, a game artist. Oh, I need to learn. What are the things I need to learn? Oh, I need to learn color for I want to be a game artist. I got to learn that. I want to do backgrounds. I got to learn perspective. And there's so much knowledge out there. And I never went to art school. And I have had a great career as being an artist, with no other than my own self-training. And this was way before any of this stuff existed. How I did it was I just grabbed books. I just grabbed people's books and I copied and I studied and I learned and I put videos on pause and I studied and I drew and I practiced. that would be my own personal recommendation. That's where I would come from. Again, you're going to get different opinion from different people, but I think I would say you can save a lot of money. You can use that money to really strengthen you. You can buy the materials you need. You can get on the courses that you need to get onto, and you're going to have just as equal of a good education as you would if you showed up and paying $30,000 a year, having to take 5 different classes on top of academic stuff where you're like, I don't even want to do academic stuff. I just want to draw. So that would be my honest opinion for you. Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
Okay, you bet. My pleasure. So I'm gonna end it here, but I'm gonna leave it with you guys with my poem that I wrote. I wrote a book called let me just stop sharing this with you so you guys can even see my screen. I wrote a book called, it's called Breaking Through Barriers, and it's part of the artist struggle. I have it through my website, and it's just my philosophies on life. So there's no drawing, it's all written mindset stuff, because mindset is just as equally important. And just what I just kind of want to say here is end with my poem in this book, and it goes something like this. All right. It's called As Long As You Are You. Okay. All I have ever done is enjoyed what I ever do. My mind was open. My mind was clear. I did not stop to think of fear. I open up my mind, think of an idea, put it into action, and see what will appear. It can never be a failure because I learned along the way. If I did not succeed, I'll try another day. Stay calm and smile. Enjoy the things you do. Life will get much better as long as you are you. And that's my poem. All right. So that's it, guys. I'm so happy you're here at Lightbox. Enjoy the Lightbox Expo. Again, keep in mind, if you love this session, this is part of the membership. We're going to be doing this every single month, once a month, drawing, working together. Check it out at silverdrawingacademy.com. The $99 special ends on Sunday if you wish to be a part of it. There's over 300 videos, art talks, critiques. I'm going to be critiquing your work. There's a lot of fun stuff going on there, so please check it out. And thank you guys so much for coming here. I really appreciate you guys. All right. So, all right. So long. Bye. See ya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Obrigado.
Thank you. Obrigada.
Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was
Thank you.
nice. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias. I wish I knew all the languages. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys. I'm watching all of you guys wind down. This is awesome. See ya. Go have fun. Go have fun. There's still 121 people on here. Bye. I'm going to end it. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.